All right, guys, welcome back to another solo podcast. The idea is for me to share information with you that makes sense in the grand global scheme of things from my perspective, my experience with a decade and a half of experience behind me. The idea is also to get you to bring back your comments, what you think is working, what you think is not working. You can agree, disagree, or make a comment that, Fahd, you don't know what you're talking about, but let's put it out there, okay? So the idea is gaining experience. Guys, look, if you're an investor coming into the Dubai market or specifically with regards to real estate, or you're coming into the Dubai market as an agent, as an advisor, as a broker, somebody who's going to be selling real estate, the idea or the concept behind gaining most amount of expertise is to actually gain the most amount of experience, ideally in the shortest period of time possible. Okay, so be bold, go out there, get involved. Okay, don't be scared of deals, don't be scared of people, don't be scared of transactions, don't be scared of the what ifs, and don't be scared and don't hang around with the people of the world who hang around themselves in the what ifs. The idea is for you to be bold. The idea behind being bold, and let me correct myself, being bold and being brave is courage. Okay, a lot of people have said this, and I clearly remember the first time I heard this distinction, even though he's not the first person who made it, but he's the first person who made this distinction, was a scholar that I heard in Toronto, and he said, look, there's a difference between being courageous and bravado. Okay, bravado is you jump off a cliff thinking everything's going to be okay just because you're brave. Courage is you go get a parachute, make sure that the parachute's gonna open, have a backup perhaps, know how to deploy the parachute, and then jump off the cliff and be brave enough to do that, right? So to get experience, go out there, get involved in the transactions that are coming by. Get involved with other people who are involved in those transactions. And I've got to say this, okay? There's something to be said about experience. When you gain more experience, you develop a very critical skill. We call it thin slicing. I think Malcolm Gladwell, he might be the first person who talks about this, and maybe he's the one who's called it thin slicing, but he talks about it in a book that he's written called Blink. Okay, Malcolm Gladwell, you'll know him from as the famous author from the book The Tipping Point. Okay, if you haven't read that book, it's a wonderful book. Great stories, but great lessons that come with those stories. And then there's many other books of his called Outliers, the Blink, and so on and so forth. And I think he talks about this in Blink. Okay, let me explain to you what's the quality of thin slicing. Okay, so the story goes something like this. There used to be a statue, a Greek statue this big. Okay, this big. I forget what it was called, but it was a small statue. Okay, this statue is approximately 3,500 years old. Okay, so if anybody finds or has in their possession this statue, this is this big. I forget what it's exactly called, but if you've got this statue, it's worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. Okay, to any museum, to any art collector. And what ended up happening was that this particular statue from a collector was taken to a museum somewhere in Europe. And the museum experts and the museum's board was looking for something of a unique stature to bring to their exhibit and raise the status of the museum. So this little male figurine Greek statue held a lot of interest by these people. Okay, now what ended up happening is, before they would pay like $10 million for this small piece of artifact, they wanted to run tests. All the tests came back positively confirming that this statue dates back 3,500 or 3,000 years BC or something like that, and it's in fact a genuine artifact, and they should pay for it, right? So, and they ended up paying $10 million for it. Turns out that miniature statue of that male figurine was a fake. Okay. Apparently, the person or the company or the entity that sold it, they had come up with some new technique that used potato peel put onto a statue, and then using something infrared or something, they could create and fool machines when they tested that statue, because apparently something that the potato peels would do is layers of dust that only take thousands of years to come up on an artifact cannot be done over a few days or a few months or a few years. So they were able to fool the museum and the technical experts. But here's the funny thing. The actual museum directors or the art historians, the ones who were on board and with the expertise, they said that within the first few instincts, like we're talking about a fraction of a second, they knew it was a fake. Okay, but obviously the museum couldn't just rely on their word. They had to send it for testing, so on and so forth. And when the testings all came positive to being an original artifact, they ended up paying for it. But the fact of the matter is that these museum experts, they had this ability to thin slice. What is thin slicing? Thin slicing essentially means that you've been involved in an industry, in an area for so many years, 10 plus years, and you've seen so many of these similar cases that your brain is able to compartmentalize the information that comes at you and give you a conclusion within less than a second. Okay, this is what's going to happen with you in real estate. If you're coming in as an agent, advisor, broker, the more number of deals that you're going to be involved in, the more your ability to thin slice and make crucial, critical, quick decisions improves. Happens the same way with investors. The more you're able to thin slice on a particular project, the faster you're going to be able to make quicker, better decisions most of the time, right? So you start out by getting 1 out of 10 right, and then you end up being like 10 out of 10 times right. I'll give you an example. The other day I was walking past in a mall, one of our premium developers, they had displayed their large product or their model that they were working on or they were selling, right? And I had a friend of mine, and I just looked at it and I said to him, okay, that's a good project. And he's like, how can you tell so fast? Okay. So here's the thing. Okay. I thin sliced. What did I thin slice? I went through in my head a couple of things very fast. Number one, premium developer in that city that's owned by the government, therefore has access to the best land. The actual project or the model of the buildings were overlooking a green park, huge green space, and then water. Boom. And now, because this developer is really trying to make a splash on the scene, because I've seen a lot of marketing coming across all around town, I know that they're going to be giving a very good payment plan. Number four, they've already got a very good history of delivering. They're actually getting and coming in tune with actually delivering good products, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm not saying that I told my friend go and buy now because this is a winner 100%, but I thin sliced pretty fast and I was able to tell him like, look, this one makes sense. Most likely it's a winner, and I can give you that 80% kind of sentiment, and then the balance 20% we're gonna investigate, understand more, see the nitty gritty of the project or the development or the real estate, and then understand it a little bit more. It's kind of like a doctor who's seen like thousands of patients with one particular situation, like, I don't know, maybe with the eyes or, you know, something like that. And he can pretty much quickly, the moment the patient walks in, tell you what's going to be a probable solution at 80%. Right? The balance 20%, he's still going to ask the patient, okay, like, you know, what's your sleeping pattern? What are you doing otherwise in life? What's causing you this pain in your neck, so on and so forth. Okay. That's number one. Number two, guys, and this is like, look, when I do these solo podcasts, they're good reminders for myself as well. Number two is, don't forget, whether you're a realtor or an investor, a real estate investor in Dubai or the world over, don't forget, you are in a people business. You're in a people business. Okay. Property is there. Money is there. The economy is there. The country is there. At the end of the day, though, you're dealing with people. Okay. And one of the things that I find quite critical with business, because it is a business at the end of the day, is that in business, when you're dealing with people, if you develop your ability and take it up from here all the way to here to be able to assess people fast, you're going to be in a good position to be able to do business better. Simple rules, okay? I can tell you, you could work off this 4 rule principles. Look for red flags, orange flags, yellow flags, white flags, okay? And I'll give you an example, okay? White flags in a person are where everything is kosher, halal. They kind of do what they say what they do. If you've got a meeting with them, they turn up on time or they turn up half an hour early, okay? Yellow flags are somebody's coming to you to meet you. They purport to actually be able to deliver a very amazing project for you, but yet they're late, okay? This is, I think, a little bit of a yellow flag. By a yellow flag, I mean that, they're late. Perhaps they renegotiated their arrival. Perhaps they apologized. Perhaps they had a really genuine last-minute emergency. Can happen. So you've got to give them another chance, right? So if they're late to the meeting, you're not going to cancel them off and say, look, this guy wants to do this great project, but he's not on time to the meeting. Cancel him. I'm not going to work. You give this person another chance, okay? Orange flags is you've heard about this person from somebody else, and they said, look, this person ran into so-and-so problem with this person, okay? People have this habit of self-sabotaging themselves, okay? So if you find people, and look, I think when I used to be on the other side, I used to, obviously when we used to read about developing CVs, writing CVs, people would say, if you've got too many companies that you're jumping from one to another, to another, to another, what ends up happening is potential employees will look at that and say, look, are you really committed to a company? What's the reason that you end up leaving every single time within a year or 2 years or 3 years? And I didn't really understand that until now. People are creatures of habits, okay? And they self-sabotage, okay? So if you've got somebody who jumps from one place to another place to another place, 80% of the time, or let's say more often than not, it's them that's the problem, okay? Why? Because they end up self-sabotaging themselves even when they are succeeding at a place, okay? Sometimes they're doing really, really well, but they end up actually not continuing that success by self-sabotaging. They will either create elements of mistrust between themselves and their employer or their colleagues, or they might just be looking for some trouble, okay? Now, orange flags don't mean that you can't forgive them and can't move them on and can't give them another chance. Try to understand their position. Try to understand where they're coming from, right? Remember, it's a people business. So look for white flags, yellow flags. Yellow are pretty harmless most of the time. Orange flags where a person has a checkered past but is trying, because people do make changes in their life, okay? I don't believe that a leopard can't change their spots, because you can become a better person. You can stop lying. You can quit smoking. How many people have quit smoking in their lives? Tons of people. How many people have quit drinking in their lives? Tons of people. How many people were not great husbands, went on to become better husbands? How many people perhaps were not great wives, went on to become better wives later on, right? How many? So on and on and on and on, right? Okay. Red flags are completely no-goes. Like, people who lie, you don't do business with them. It's a no-go, because lying is that big red flag that's going to harm them because they're lying, and you as well, okay? So you've got to watch out for this. How do you get to this? You work with more people and gain that experience, okay? So sometimes you're going to be really tough on people. I've had that. I've made mistakes. I ask for forgiveness from God and from those people where there was a smaller mistake on their part and I just couldn't stand it. And I said, look, I think we should part ways, which Later on, I thought about it and I said, look, perhaps if I'd given them another chance, perhaps we could have grown to a different direction. And I've had other issues as well where people had complete red flags. They might have lied on something. They might have other issues, which I ignored in the beginning and then later found out that, red flags are not to be ignored. So look, when you're working with people, choose these 4 routes. White flags, yellow flags, orange flags, red flags. Red, complete no-goes. Orange flags, give them a chance. Yellow flags, give them a chance, definitely. White flags, really good. Perhaps they're, angels. So last but not the least, not only are you dealing with people, but also when you come to deals, guys, you got to remember you're dealing with people. And then in the deals, there are egos, there are terms, there's the actual property. It all again boils down to gaining more experience. The more experience you gain, the more you're going to be able to affect a deal potentially properly. Now, the agents who are in the earlier part of their career or investors who are in the earlier part of their investment journeys, guys, don't be scared of complicated deals. Get in there, sign up. For example, let's say a complicated deal could be something that's just getting handed over from a developer in the Dubai market, but the person has missed off about a year's worth of payments, and there's the danger that this property is going to get cancelled. You can't actually buy it. Why would you even get bothered to get into the deal? Well, look, you either have an advisor advising you, or you can do this yourself. You can actually go to the developer's office with the paperwork and ask the developer and say, look, I'd like some advice from you. What's the deal with this deal? And how could I bring it home if I actually wanted to buy it? If you just, the first moment of trouble that you see, if you run away from it, you're not doing the biggest favor to yourself, okay? Look, the idea is to get more experience. You've got to go in there, get involved with a lot more deals, a lot more transactions. Don't be scared. Don't pull away. Be in there. One thing though I'm going to say is stay with a positive mindset. I used to do this in the earlier part of my career. I don't do this. I wish and I pray to God, all my deals, all my transactions, all my business dealings, please let them be with ease. Let me get paid. Let everybody make a good profit with ease, okay? I don't want complications. I don't enjoy them, okay? But the earlier part of my career, there used to be complications. But if they do come up, don't be scared. Go out there, go in there, deal with them, ask them. Like, the transaction I'm talking about, if somebody's defaulting to a developer, just go to the developer, take all the documentation, sit down with the developer's salesperson or the developer's manager or general manager, ask them if it's possible, can I bring this deal home? What do I need to pay? What do the other person not need to pay? Are there penalties involved? Can we waive penalties? So on and so forth. Look, I'm not here to teach you about the actual transaction, but the main thing you've got to understand is the more you're involved in the transaction, the more ability for you to learn. The more you learn, the more you're going to be able to thin slice. What is thin slicing is that you're going to be able to make quick, fast decisions almost 80% of the time, 80% of the situation, you'll be able to make a good decision. The balance 20% is what you're going to have to look out for. All right, guys? So look, be bold, be brave, go out there, get involved. If you don't have your own transaction, get involved with your mentor's transaction. Tell them, listen, I'll help you. I'll drive you around. I'll do what's required so that you can learn from those transactions. Same thing with people as well. The more number of people you work with, you'll be able to catch their flags quicker, okay? White flags, yellow flags, orange flags, red flags. Same thing with deals. You're working with people, but you're also working with egos, terms, and property conditions. Apply the same rules. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon if you want to actually purchase a property with us. There's a link below. You can click it and fill up the form. And obviously, show some love in the comments section, all right? Don't forget, you can actually get my books from Amazon. This is the first book I wrote in 2016. This is a more recent one, The Ultimate Guide to Buy Real Estate. I'd recommend get them both. They're very easy reads. They're written in story format. You won't get bored. You'll enjoy them. Love to get some comments back from you guys as well. All right, guys. Ciao for now. Bye.